Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar this afternoon. We hope that in the next hour or so that you will learn a number of things and be able to use some of the tools that we have to offer that will help you be successful at the 2014 International Home and Housewares Show. I'm Perry Reynolds and I'm here today with our other two presenters, Debbie Teschke.
Good afternoon.
And Nancy Michael.
Hello.
You will see on your screen now, you will see our phone numbers and emails. We are happy to answer any questions offline for you after the event. We'll leave that slide up for just a minute so you can write that down if you wish. You can also find all of our contact information at housewares.org. If you search for the IHA staff, you'll be able to find each one of us. Our job today is to make you as successful as you possibly can be during the show. One next thing to share with you is that you feel free to ask us questions at any time. You can use your chat function to submit your questions. We have someone who will be fielding your questions. Some of them she will be able to answer herself. Some of them she'll present to us, and we're happy to answer them at any time. So make sure that if you have questions, you can submit them now. If you have questions later, we'd be happy to answer them at that time. But to get us started, I know that each of you has already sort of thought through your goals for the show, what you're trying to accomplish. I think some of the things we have here on the screen are things that we hear from suppliers. Obviously, everybody wants to increase their sales. The show is an excellent place to find new customers. Of growing importance to many exhibitors is finding international markets. You certainly have an opportunity to increase your gross profit, grow your market share. Great opportunity, since 40% of the U.S. buyers who come to the show are senior managers or owners, a great opportunity for you to develop top-to-top relationships or nurture them or continue them. And as Debbie will talk to us about later on, the show, one of the great advantages of the show for many people is generating consumer interest through media exposure that the show might offer you. We encourage you to make a plan, to have a plan both in specifics and in general goals. We want you to be very specific about what you're trying to do. We want you to be realistic. We're going to help you use the resources, and we're going to give you some tips that will help you facilitate your follow-up plan for the show, and that's something else you should think about in advance of the show, not when you get back and say, okay, now what do I do with all this? You should think about having a plan in place before you go. One example of this is, if you go back, Nancy, just a second, one example of this is a company that we talked to a couple of years ago who came to the show with literally a business plan for the top 150 customers that might stop by the show. It was in a binder at the booth. If the person responsible for that account wasn't there, that was right there so that they could talk to them about the specifics of the relationship, what they intended to do, what they'd like to do. You may not want to be that deep or that broad, but you certainly should have some kind of plan in place for the people you hope to meet at the show. Now we're going to tell you how to go meet some of those people and how you can get them to your booth. We're going to talk to you about three major sections of opportunity for you: attracting buyers, as I mentioned, a tool we call Housewares Connect 365, which gives you a chance to billboard your company to talk to both buyers and consumers about the quality of your product, what's new in your business, even with videos, which we'll talk about how to do later, even with videos telling them how to use your product. And then Debbie will conclude by talking about how to reach the consumer through the news media. All of the information that we're talking about is available to you in two places. The Exhibitor Marketing Kit, which is a paper document that was mailed to you in the fall. If you don't have that document, fear not. At housewares.org/marketing, virtually every one of the opportunities we're going to talk to you about today are at that place on our website. All you have to do is click on the marketing kit, and this world of opportunity will open to you. We're going to divide our conversation about attracting buyers to your booth in 3 ways: what you can do before the show, what you can do during the show, and what you can do after the show. And we'll offer you tools for each one of those. As we get closer to the show, some of those tools are not going to be available, so some of them you may very well want to pay close attention to, and we'll talk to you about some deadline dates for them. Before the show, there are 3 things that we have for you to do that will give you an advantage in attracting buyers to your booth. They are the buyer list, which we'll talk about in just a second, the innovation alert, which goes to 40,000 email addresses before the show, and Housewares Connect 365, which I mentioned earlier. And we'll go through each one of those in depth now. Perhaps the most valuable tool that the show offers to you or to any exhibiting company is the 2013 show buyer list. This list is available to you in Excel. It is available to you. For download and for sortation. There are actually 3 lists at the destination that you see in front of you here. That you can also link through Housewares Connect. Through Housewares/marketing to this list as well. There are 3 lists there. First list is U.S. buyers. The second list is international buyers, and the third list is media. Debbie will talk more about that later. The list is essentially the registration data that each buyer gave us for last year's show. They tell us their name, they tell us their title, they tell us their address, they tell us their phone number, they tell us their fax number. It is sortable by all those, but probably more important to you, it's also sortable by retail channel. It's sortable by that person's responsibility. Each of these is required, and we actually check to make sure that many of them are on the beam with their answers. And also by product classification at the show. So I believe there are 19 different product classifications that I think cover the great majority of the products at the show, and will probably cover your product. So theoretically, if you're proficient with Excel, and I'm sure somebody in your organization is, you could sort out a list of every independent kitchenware store owner who came to the show who's responsible for buying cookware. Theoretically, you could make a sort like that. You can see the spot to download the list, and here's what we recommend. We recommend that you use this list and touch each buyer that you want to come to your booth 3 times. We've talked to several exhibitors who have done this very successfully, and they've done it in a variety of different ways. Among the things that they've told us that they have done that have been helpful to them are sending targeted postcards, are sending notification of the fact that they have show specials in their booth, of sending, in some cases, samples of product in advance of the show. In some cases, sending them information that covers the kinds of presence they have in trade media. Some of them send a copy of mentions from consumer magazines. Anything that you can do to get that person interested in what your product is. If you're interested in selling to the mass market, certainly you should go into this list, look for the Walmart buyer most appropriate to you, or the Bed Bath & Beyond buyer most appropriate to you, and then in some reasonable way target that buyer. It needs to be, particularly the higher up there in terms of responsibility, the more it needs to be personalized. Hey Art, we met you 2 years ago when we were developing this product. We're now finally at the show. We hope you can stop by and see us. We've got some great things to talk about, or something on that order. The company that I think most of, about 3 touches, is a company that debuted at the show last year. They actually were on 2 of these webinars and used every tool that we're going to talk about. And every time I walked by their booth, they were wall to wall with people. And a lot of it had to do with their product, but a lot of it had to do with the fact that they marketed themselves in advance. Now, our buyer list is not the only tool you can use. I'm sure you have access to other lists. One of the things that I would share with you is that we used to buy other lists to make sure that we were covering the entirety of the industry. We now use our list. And if you have been in the show for more than 1 year, you've got multiple lists that you can use, and we'll tell you a little bit later on about how you're going to get another list of the 2014 buyers after the show. The only thing that I would tell you that's not here is the email address. And buyers have specifically, and we continue to check in with them, buyers have specifically asked us not to share their email addresses. But we'll talk a little bit later about a couple of ways that you can get their email addresses, and perhaps that will be something that they'd want to share with you in a different way.
A few details on this. This list is only available to paid exhibitors, and you will need your user ID and your seniority number. If you don't have that information, you can contact your sales manager or myself, Nancy, and I can get that for you very easily.
Also, if you have access to your contract, it is on the top of your contract and is there. So another item I mentioned earlier is the innovation alert. I will tell you at this point, because it's connected to something else we do on show site, I will tell you at this point that it goes to 40,000 buyers, goes to every buyer in our database, whether they're coming to the show or not. It is to your advantage and to the advantage of the show to make certain that those buyers know their new products, and if they're not coming, they miss something, maybe at the last minute they'll change their mind. It goes out about 10 days before the show. And it is literally a compendium of all the products in our new product showcase, and we'll talk about how you get into that when we get into the on-show site. The last item before the show is extremely important, and it does two things for you. It guarantees your mention in the show directory, and it guarantees that you will be available to those million searches that we have on Housewares Connect 365. It is, as it says here, not blushingly, a dynamic online tool. It does help you reach those folks and helps you reach them in a number of different ways. I will share with you that Housewares.org and Housewares Connect 365 are search engine optimized to such a degree that it is very often the fact that your listing on our site may return actually before your listing on your own site. We've seen this in a number of cases, so it's to your benefit to have this available to you. We'll talk a little bit about as we go through Housewares Connect 365 about what it can do for you, how buyers and media use it. Debbie will talk about media a little bit later. We'll show you how to enhance your free listing. Again, this is entirely free. Other shows do charge for this kind of service, and we do not. And we'll also talk to you about how to send an electronic invitation to buyers and news media using the message center. I mentioned already, I get way out ahead of myself because I get very excited about that million searches, but the point is that it is a tool that's being used. And we have 2 advisory councils of retailers. They tell us without fail that this is a tool that they use, whether it's a big retailer or a small retailer. Senior executives at Walmart have praised it. Virtually every kitchen store owner in the United States has praised it. We get very high praise for this because it really helps them get prepared for the show. We'll talk a little bit more about what they get when they use it as well in a minute. One thing to note before we get to it is that the more you enhance your listing, this stat up here on the screen tells you one thing, but the more you enhance your listing, the more likely you are to pique the interest of a buyer or media or consumer. Buyers and media, and Debbie will talk about media later, but buyers and media each have access to a personal briefcase. When they go to Housewares Connect 365, they can actually save their searches. Buyers can create a custom floor plan. We'll show you a little bit about what that looks like later on. They can communicate with you because your company ID, your company email is available to them, and the names of the people that you tell us are your key contacts at the show are available to them on Housewares Connect 365. They can access saved searches and floor plans while they're at the show, at our kiosks at the show. And of course, it's a year-round tool, hence the clever name Housewares Connect 365. You can be searched in the following ways. Keyword is probably 85% of the searches, but they can also search by your company name if they wish to. They can search by show category if they want to look at all the people in a certain category. If they're looking for brands and licenses across the number of suppliers, they can search that. They can search Made in USA, and we'll show you how to do that later. They can search show specials. If they want to find out who's in their neighborhood, they can search U.S. states, search country, and so on through the list. And Debbie will talk about the one at the bottom when we get to her. This tool is simple to use and really is a must for you in terms of making yourself present at the show. You can communicate with buyers, you can talk to them about special things happening in your booth, and you can add press releases, you can talk about events, you can talk about your company's anniversary, you can talk about all kinds of things. Some of that means something to somebody, and we would encourage you to do that. And we'll talk a little bit about the specifics of that here in a second. Deadline for inclusion on anything you give us in Housewares Connect 365 that goes in the show directory is February 4th. We would encourage you to have your listing completely updated by February 4th to make sure that you're presented properly in the show directory. In addition, you can continue to update Housewares Connect 365 in terms of some of the tools like product photos and videos and so forth year-round, but in order to get your correct information in the show directory, we encourage you to look at this by February 4th. This is where you go to update your listing in the directory. You will again need your company ID and seniority number to access this tool. We will also ask you for your name. One thing that does continue to come up, and I'm obliged to mention it here, there are other companies out there in the world that have no connection to us that often purport to be your access to buyers. There are a number of them, a couple of them mentioned here, but they aren't the only ones. I want you to know that our directories, both at the show and in Housewares Connect 365, are free to you. There is no charge. I encourage you before you sign anything with anybody that you do a double check. And if they're charging you money for a show directory listing, it is not the International Housewares Association or the show. Now here's the page that you land on when you click on that link that we just talked about. And I'm going to walk you down the left-hand side of this. I hope you're able to see it. But once you log in, you can walk through each of the items on the left-hand navigation very simply and easily. In addition, at the top is something called a message center. I'm going to walk you through the steps first, and then we'll come back and talk about the message center. Your company address is the first step. Then the second step is on-site contacts. This will be very similar to when you're done, click here, and you move on to the next slide. It's like doing tax software, and there are a number of other. You've probably encountered this kind of easy-to-use system before. If you have brands and licenses, we want you to mention them here. It gives you additional search ability. Products, you'll be able to put down the products, select the products that you'll be showing at the show. The next step is company description. I'm going to spend a few more minutes on this. You will have the opportunity to put a description of your company in. You are limited, but it's a very large window. Gives you a large opportunity to talk about your company. I would encourage you to do a couple of things. One, to write it in a different format that has editing tools for you, particularly spell check and those kinds of things, just to make sure that this is going to be your face to the public, to make sure that your grammar and your spelling is correct. I would encourage you to have somebody else on your team proofread it before you load it up. But importantly, in each of your descriptions, you should include some reference to anything that you think someone might search you by. If you're having an anniversary, make sure you mention the anniversary. If you have anything special going on in your booth, you have a relationship with a celebrity chef, you have a relationship with an author, I would mention that in your company description so that your searchability level goes up. It will not help you to repeat words because it doesn't work that way and it doesn't return you any faster. All searches are returned in alphabetic order for fairness. So nobody gets returned before somebody else. I would encourage you, though, to describe your company in a way that is meaningful. Debbie will talk a little bit later about the media. Some of your company's stories are interesting in and of themselves to media, particularly as we talk about local television, local newspaper folks. Some of them want to hear about your story, and they may find you this way as well. So spell check it, have somebody else proofread it for you, put it up there. You can change it anytime. You can come back in here and change this anytime. It's not locked in stone. Some of the items that are beyond what's in the directory are changeable at any time. I encourage you to update it at any time you feel it's appropriate to update it and to check back on it at any time. You can also upload PDFs of your product catalogs. There are limits, and some catalogs are gigantic, but within limits you can update PDFs of your catalogs. Be aware that searches of your the search of the site will not return any results from anything in a PDF, product catalogs being a part of that. So if there's something your product catalog says that you'd like to have said, make sure it's in your description.
I want to remind you this is an open site, so if you're going to post catalogs or sell sheets or anything about product information, you want to make sure that you've removed your wholesale pricing, because we will get consumers, like Perry mentioned, consumers, buyers, media, they all hit this site. So make sure you're aware of that, and you don't want to post information that could hurt your company.
Thank you, Nance. The next opportunity is to load your company logo. Again, very simple to load that logo, depending on what file type it's in. Next, company news, press releases, etc. All PDFs are loadable here. Again, they are not searchable as a PDF, but they're loadable here. If it's an anniversary, if there's something really important in that press release and you want it searchable, make sure it's in your company description. But if you would like to refer people to your full press release, you can put it here, and that would be a great place to refer them to it. You can also upload videos. If you have a video on YouTube, you can load it into this site. It will frame the first video shot of just as it does on YouTube on here. We have had people do interviews. We've had them do product demonstrations. We've had them do sort of a walk through new product releases. Any video that you have that you think it's appropriate for buyers or consumers to see, or consumer media to see, we'd encourage you to load it here. Just as with product images, which are loadable as well, these are easy to move around. You can drag and drop them. You can change the order. If you've got a new product that comes out that you want to make public, as Nancy said, remember this is a public site, but if you want to make a product picture available the day after the show, you can move it in, make it the first picture there. If you are having in-booth appearances, this little piece of software will guide you through how to load those. Again, I mentioned chefs and authors and experts of any sort that you have in your booth. Anybody that you think will be of interest to a buyer or a news media person, we'd encourage you to list them in the in-booth appearances.
Perry, I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a size limit for uploading the PDF file?
There is a size limit, and I don't happen to know it in my mind, but it will tell you when you have loaded one that is too large. It's very generous, but there are some catalogs that are 200 pages long, and it just won't handle them.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's the only question I have right now. Excellent.
You also, if your company is known by multiple names, you can pay for a duplicate directory listing. I would encourage you to speak to your show sales manager about that as quickly as possible. Again, the February 4th is the deadline for the show directory, so this would apply to this as well. And so make sure you get that moving if you wish to do that. There's also a sign-off page at the end here, and of course we always want to thank you for doing that. But back up to that message center at the top, you are able to send messages to the mailbox on our site of buyers and news media. And it is not their email box, it is their mailbox on the site. When they have messages on their mailbox on our site, we tell them that they have messages and alert them to go look at them. You actually pick the kind of buyer you would like based on some of the same criteria I mentioned when we're talking about the buyer list. Same with the media. You can do product categories, retail channels, types of media, and those messages that you send, I would offer the same kind of advice. Make them brief, make sure somebody else has read them, make sure they're spell checked, et cetera, but send those to those buyers as well. Again, I think the most effective communication you will have with buyers is using that buyer list to make direct communication, but this is another option for you as well.
Perry, I have a couple more questions.
Please. Go ahead.
Somebody's asking, does the video have to be on YouTube to upload?
It does. But as most folks will know, the uploading to YouTube is fairly simple.
Okay. And do you suggest, when do you suggest to send out the postcards or emails via the message center? 2 to 3 weeks before the show?
You actually get 3 that you can send as a limit. I would start sending them now, and I would send them right up to the show and or hold one for after. Depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The next slide that's up here is what Housewares Connect 365 looks like to the buyer. And I think it's appropriate to show you this so that you'll get a sense of what you'll look like when a buyer comes to find you. As you can see, there are a couple of featured categories there. They are there at buyer request, and we're always open to have new ones, and we'll meet with our buyers again at the show and discuss this, and if they think one of these should go away and more should come along, we will certainly do that. But both of them are there at buyer request. Pet supplies is there because it's all over the show and in many different categories, and we had specific buyers who felt they weren't getting access to every pet company. In addition, Made in USA, and there's an opportunity that I sadly skipped over when I was talking about Housewares Connect 365. In special programs, it gives you the opportunity on Housewares Connect 365 to validate that you have product that's made in the USA. And the validation comes in the form of a pledge from you with some criteria that we supply for you. If you can validate that your product is made in USA, I certainly do it there, and you will show up in this search. I would encourage you to make certain that you are being accurate, because we have buyers who are very astute, very much focused on Made in USA, and if you're not telling them the truth, I think you may frustrate them, and that would be something you probably would not want to do. Now, when a buyer searches and keyword, here's what they get. In this particular case, we asked them to search. We searched for Joseph, which is an exhibitor at the show. As you can see by the listing here, it returned every company, and this is just a partial listing, I'm certain, but it returned every company that had the word Joseph in the list as we searched by a keyword. But there is Joseph at the bottom. As you can see, Joseph, this is not current, so please, if Joseph's on the phone, understand that that we are using this as an example, but not what's there today. As you can see from the listing that's there, they have the first product. The first product that has a photograph up there is framed in the listing, and there's a little video camera in that video column. That means that they have videos listed. Again, as you saw earlier, the people that have multimedia or photographs get searched more completely. The plus on the right-hand side is what the buyer clicks on to put you in their briefcase and on their custom floor plan. So the buyer will click on that and be able to add you to their floor plan. Now we click on Joseph, and here's what we come up with. We've got two different screens up here, so bear with us. You put the two screens together, you'll see what Joseph looked like. There's their video framed there, obviously easily clickable. As you can see, they've done a number of videos which talk about how to use the product, talk about the product features and so forth. They have other products listed below. The second part of the listing is the company description, the company profile, and all of the specific information relative to the company phone, fax, toll-free number, company website. Click here to send an email to company personnel, which will go to their company mailbox. So this is what, if you in your imagination can put those two together, is what your listing will look like. I would encourage you at the conclusion of this webinar to go look at your listing now, go in it the way the buyer would go in it, just like we just did, and take a look at what you look like, because that is your face to the world on Housewares Connect 365. One last picture of Housewares Connect 365. That, if you can see the little circled number 1 in dark on the right-hand side of the screen, that is the location of Joseph's booth. Now, most buyers will have numbers up to 20 or 30 or 40 on here. At the bottom of the screen, print outable for them, will be a list by booth number of all those exhibitors and their booth number, so that they can more easily come find you at the show. You probably will see buyers walking around the show with your booth highlighted on a piece of paper. They can also go to our kiosks on the show floor and pull this list back up again using their username and password. They will also be using our app to find you on the show floor as well. Now we're going to shift gears and talk about exposure during the show. There are some sponsorships available. We don't take very many. The reason we take sponsorships is to support the buyers who come to the show. We offer buyers clubs. You may know we offer free lunch to buyers every day at the show. We also have an international business center for international buyers. Many of the sponsorships are already spoken for, but if you go into our into the housewares.org/marketing website, you'll see a woman's name there, Alyssa Graham. She will be happy to help you. You can link right through there, and she'll be happy to walk you through what we have left and available for sponsorships, if any. But if you're interested in those, she'd be happy to help you. The new product showcase is one of the very few items that we offer at a price at the show, but it has a tremendous amount of value, and I'm trying to walk through that with you. New product showcases are in each hall at the show. There's one in each of the halls. They're located in the buyers clubs, which means they're accessible only by media and retail buyers. They're not accessible to your competitors if you're concerned about that. We invite buyers into the buyers clubs, offer them a scanner. The products are scannable. We send as the buyer comes back, just like you would be doing if you were signing up for wedding gifts, it's the same kind of thing. They bring it back. We dock it. We print them out a list of all the companies and products they scan by booth number, so they know how to go find you on the show floor. At the conclusion of the show, we send you an email telling you all of the people who scanned your product in case they didn't make it to your booth. We also send the buyer an email reminding him or her of the products that she scanned at the show. You may have heard me mention earlier that we send out the innovation alert. These are the products that are included in the innovation alert, any product in the new product showcase. In addition, you get an entry in the 2014 IHA Innovation Awards, and I'll talk about that in a second. The deadline to be considered for the IHA Innovation Awards is February 7th. The deadline for submitting products to the showcase, not available for the award, goes on after that. But I would encourage you, one of the great values of being a part of this is to be a part of the IHA Innovation Awards. I'll show you what it looks like in the Buyers Club. This is a buyer looking at a product in the club. And as you can see, right next to her finger is the scannable card. It's placed next to each product. The products are arranged in the showcases by our staff. We are happy to take instruction from you on the best way to present it, but we are the ones who will put it up there. And again, as I said, exhibitors are not invited to the showcase either before or during the show. Let me tell you a little bit more about the Innovation Awards. Any product submitted for the showcase is eligible. There are 13 categories. We have a professional judging panel. They judge in sort of two segments. They judge all of the products prior to the show, and we compile their votes and select the 5 finalists in each category. The finalists in each category are announced before the show. They each will have an award to put in their booth. And then at 4:30 on Saturday at the show in the Innovation Theater in the Hall of Global Innovation, we will announce the winner in each of the 13 categories and then open up a display at the Hall of Global Innovation that shows all finalists and the winning product. So among the finalists, the judges actually convene at show site on Friday to pick the winning product.
And again, that's only available to media and buyers.
Right. So this is what a happy winner looks like. This is what the display looks like at the show. We encourage you, if you have an innovative product, we encourage you to be a part of this. It is excellent for publicity. It's an excellent opportunity for you to be public. But again, access, as Nancy mentioned, to the buyers clubs is only available to buyers in news media. We encourage you, if you have programs for independent specialty retailers, as some of you know, they require different kinds of case packs, different kinds of pricing, sometimes different kinds of dating. Independents really don't know whose booths are friendly to them. We will provide you with a sign for your booth and a badge for your key retailer, independent retailer lead person to wear at the show, and tell buyers to look for these signs. Independents want to know which booths are friendly to them, which booths have programs for them. We don't want to know what your program is. We just want to know that you are friendly. The deadline for being recognized in the show directory as a specialty retailer specialist is February 1st. You can sign up for this program till later on in February. Also, these signs will be available at the floor manager's booth at the show if you neglected to sign up. But again, if you do it by February 1st, you'll get a mention.
I have a question here about the new product showcase.
Yes.
Are all the products submitted behind the glass doors, or are some available to be picked up and touched?
Every product is behind a glass door, providing spaces available for that product.
Thank you, that's all.
Okay. We've had rare occurrences where a product is too large for that space. In some cases, we do a miniature or a photo. In some cases, we have moved out of the case or moved it into a separate case. One thing that is changing, and is changing fairly quickly at the show, is the buyer's desire to write orders at the show. 50% of exhibitors reported writing orders with U.S. specialty retailers at the show. Some actually reported writing orders with mass retailers at the show, particularly when it came to value purchases. I have an exhibitor that every year calls me and tells me how well he did in terms of writing orders. He has show specials. A part of his 3 touches is reaching out and touching his key customers and the customers he's trying to reach to tell them what's a special at the show. Last year, he reported writing $200,000 of cost worth of orders at the show. So it is possible. We want you to be prepared. We've had buyers come to us and say, I went to write an order in a booth and nobody knew how to write an order. In that marketing kit, in the paper marketing kit and housewares.org/marketing will be this form. At the very least, bring a couple of these if you don't have your own. I'm sure most of you do have your own and know how to do it, but there will be buyers who would like to write orders with you, and we certainly wouldn't want to frustrate them if they want to spend money. One other opportunity for you that we would strongly recommend you get on right away is what we call Buyer Connect lead retrieval. They are the devices that you have in your booth that allow you to scan buyers' badges. There are two of them, a handheld, which is very popular, and actually is significantly, as you can imagine, more portable, or a desktop model. The desktop model does require that you have electricity in your booth. The handheld model does not require it. You can charge it away from the booth if you wish. But in either case, this is an opportunity for you to create a list of people you want to follow up with after the show. We mentioned that earlier. The great advantage of this tool is that this gives you the buyer's email address. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody say to me, I lost my business cards I collected at the show. I can't find, who is that buyer? What was his or her name? Could you share her email address with me? And the answer is that this is a tool, to the first 800 of you who apply, this is a tool that will allow you to collect those email addresses and to save information about the people that came to your booth. Additional advantage, at the conclusion of the show, you get a list of everybody you scanned. The buyer gets a list of every booth he or she visited. So it's another way to sort of duplex that follow-up. Remember, if you don't want them to follow up, don't scan them. But in this particular case, I think it's a great advantage to both the buyer and the seller. This is something buyers recommended for a number of years until we put this in place. I will share with you this is an extremely effective tool, and you can see the number of booth visits recorded last year. That's an awful lot of business that needs to be followed up. Again, a limit of 800. You will have to put down a credit card. That's only in case you lose the equipment. You will have to pick it up on show site, but you can reserve it at housewares.org/marketing. All the information is there to do it with, and the deadline is February 14th, or when we run out of the first 800.
So these units go very fast. If you're interested in having one of these lead retrievers, you need to get on this immediately. I will go back to the having a plan and a plan for what you're going to do with your follow-up after the show. The handheld is obviously all electronic, and the desktop model does come with paper rolls, so you need to consider how you're best going to follow up with your customers. Is it best for you to have a paper copy that you can write information on, maybe staple their business card, or is it best for you that you're going to follow up electronically?
If you're looking for a more sophisticated solution, if you go to housewares.org/marketing and go to this section of the site, you will find several other options that are significantly more sophisticated, but also more expensive, including an app that will allow you to capture your leads on site in an app. Again, more expensive, but worth, I think, at least reading about at the site. If you have any questions with any of that, please let Nancy or me know, and we'll be happy to help sort some of that out for you.
Perry, I have a question regarding somebody has two innovative products that they're going to be launching at the show for which they're looking for distributors. How do you think they should go about marketing themselves for that?
Well, first of all, distributors is a category of buyers at the show, and there are, and when you download the buyer list, you can download the list of distributors as well. That's a great place to start. Not all distributors are the kind of distributor this person might be looking for, but that is the most comprehensive list we have access to. I would encourage you, if you have a specific question about distributors, to email me after this event, and I'll be happy to see if I can help sort through some of that for you. But again, distributors is a category of buyers at the show, and so that's a great beginning list to work with. Any other questions, Deb? Okay. On to the last couple of things for during the show. Another really sort of basic matchmaking tool is a sign that says "New for the Home" on it. We've seen these things as far away as Guangzhou, so we know they work. People keep them and put them in their booths at other shows. It is a sign that you put next to your newest products. We tell buyers to look for it. It's another chance to get that buyer to walk off the aisle and come in your booth. If they see something that has a "New for the Home" sign next to it, perhaps they'll come in and take a look. Again, the deadline to have these delivered to your booth the day before the show is February 21st. But you can also pick these signs up at the floor manager's desk at show site as well if you have more new products than we deliver signs for, or if you missed the deadline. I mentioned earlier Made in USA. This is not a publicly available sign. You do have to validate that your product is made in USA, and you have to do it in Housewares Connect 365. Once you've done that, we will deliver a sign to you at your booth the day before the show that says Made in USA. You may want to augment that with other signage in your booth, and you're perfectly welcome to do that, but we will be telling buyers to look for the sign that we will put in your booth there. So, so I think probably worth, since it's such a hot topic with not just U.S. buyers, but buyers from around the world, important that if you have Made in USA product that you go validate yourself in Housewares Connect 365. Another opportunity to get buyers to your booth and incentivize them to come to your booth is show specials. In where you validate your Made in USA credentials on Housewares Connect 365, you can also validate that you have show specials. Again, we don't care what they are. We would encourage you to really have them, not just use this as a lead to get buyers to your booth, because they'll be very disappointed if they think you have a show special, come to your booth, and you don't. And it probably should be something very special. The gentleman I talked about earlier who wrote $200,000 had product on the water last month on the way to take care of his show specials. You better be able to back them up. But we encourage you to mention that you have show specials, and that is searchable through that special link that on Housewares Connect 365. I mentioned that you will be getting the 2014 buyer list after the show. Again, have a plan. Use your Buyer Connect in-booth scanning leads. Use your new product showcase scanning leads, and use your 2014 buyer list to build a follow-up list. There will be buyers, guarantee you, there will be buyers you wanted to see that will not come to your booth. Here's an opportunity for you to go find them. Say, hey, I missed you at the show, and it's just as important to do this after the show as it is before the show. Hey, I didn't see you at the show, and I really was looking forward to seeing you. I'd love to get started with this conversation. Here's our brand new product we showed at the show, and we think it's perfect for your store. Be creative, be personable, but again, use this list to target companies you missed and to validate the information you got when buyers stop by your booth. So I think this is, again, having a follow-up plan before the show, or at least the outlines of a plan. These are some tools that will help you execute. Now I'm going to turn it over to Debbie.
All right. Now we're going to talk about how you can reach the consumer by pitching to the news media at the show. And in 2013, the show generated 300 million consumer impressions in the news media. Now, you may say, what's a consumer impression? That is simply the total number of, like the Nielsen viewer numbers from any TV or radio broadcasts that occurred during the show, plus the circulation of newspapers and magazine clips and any Internet articles if that information is available from the Internet website. Then we simply add those numbers up. I get monitoring reports from various media services that do monitoring of print and broadcast and Internet. And we add up those circulation numbers, and that's how we get our consumer impression. Now, some of you may be working with the public relations agency, and sometimes they will multiply that number to consider any pass-along copies of a magazine or a newspaper article, but we use the pure number. So if we're estimating that we've got 300 million, it could be a lot more than that because, something is passed along to others. But we go with the pure number. Now you say, Deb, do you do all that yourself? No, I don't. I have a team of freelance PR people who are working with me now to pitch the show to the consumer news media to try and get them to come to the show and cover it or write something if they can't come to the show or do some coverage afterwards. And we work with about 300 consumer media. So now we're going to talk about our services. As Perry talked about for the buyer services, we break them down to before the show, during the show, and then after the show. And if you take advantage of any of these, it will definitely help your odds of getting some publicity for your company and your product. So before the show, there's several items that we encourage you to take advantage of, and you're going to have to do them, in the coming weeks. Some deadlines are coming up. We have the show media list, a traveling media tour, the new product information for news media that Perry touched on very briefly, special events and product demonstrations, and then trade publication, new product submissions. The first service I want to talk about is the show media list. And as Perry said, this is free. I think we are one of the few trade shows that do provide the list to our exhibitors. It contains nearly 400 media who had registered for the show last year. There's both U.S. and international. We give you their address, their phone number, their fax number, and their email address if they included that when they registered, and they give us permission to publish it. So we encourage you to download the list. It's on the same page where the buyer list is. You will need your company ID and seniority number to download the list. If you are a PR agency with us today and you want to get that list, but you don't have the passwords, please do not contact IHA. We cannot give you that information. You will have to get that from your client, or else if they don't want to share that information with you, they will have to download the list for you. It is confidential to the company, and there's a lot of different things that companies can do with that information in Housewares Connect 365, so that's why we can't share that with you. So we encourage you to download the list, and then go through and choose either the trade or consumer publications that you want to pitch to. In the last couple of weeks, I've gotten some calls from some media who were listed on the list from last year, and they want to be taken off because our exhibitors are doing a great job. They're out there pitching to the media, but they may be sending it to the entire list, to all of the names. And not all of those people, bloggers or magazines or newspapers, might be relevant to your product. So I encourage you to look at the list and decide who you want to go after. If you think everybody on that list is relevant to you, then fine. But you might want to be a little bit choosy in who you're sending to. The pre-registered list for the 2014 show will be available in mid-February, so you'll have to come back to the website to download that. And the reason we wait until about a month before the show is so that I can go through the list and make sure that we just have news media on there, and we try and take out any people that have signed up as the media that want to sell you services. They are not news media. So the 2014 list will be available sometime around mid-February. Next, we have the traveling media tour, and this is one of the few paid services that we do offer. As Perry mentioned, and as you've seen if you've been to the marketing kit, most everything that IHA offers is free to you. But this is one thing that you pay for, and we just sold out the tour last week. And the traveling media tour goes into TV stations around the country. We usually do about 10 to 12 stations in various cities. And we have a person that acts as the reporter, as the representative of the Housewares show, and they will talk about the products as like a news segment. Like you will see that, we might get from the show when a reporter comes over to the show, but we're going to the TV station. And this is a way for you to promote your products to the consumer through these in-studio TV segments. It offers category exclusivity, so if you make a coffee maker and you sign up for the tour, your competitor will not be allowed to sign up for the tour. As I say, it's category exclusivity. We do the tour a few weeks prior to the show. It's done by a third-party vendor. And our traveling media tour is the only official tour that is endorsed by IHA. I know there's a lot of other media companies out there wanting to do tours, and I'm getting calls now and emails saying our client wants to do a satellite media tour from the show. We don't generally allow that simply because if you want to do it from your booth and they're running cables, there's some fire marshal issues with that. But if you're getting solicited by media companies saying, we're doing the Housewares tour, they're probably not official. And you can please contact me if somebody's contacted you about paying to be in one of these services. So now the next one we have is probably one of the most important services that IHA offers our exhibitors. And you say, Deb, I've been listening to Perry, listening to you. You have a lot of services out there that you offer. I just can't do everything. So if there's one service you're going to do to attract media attention, I would encourage you to take advantage of the new product information for the news media. Now, these listings go into your Housewares Connect 365 listing, but they are only visible by news media through their briefcase. So if you go to Housewares Connect, if you call up your listing through the general Housewares Connect search tool, you will not see these listings. A buyer will not see these listings. A consumer will not see these listings. Even if the buyer has a briefcase and they're searching 365 through their briefcase, they will not see it. Only the news media will see these listings. And I approve the media briefcases, so it's not like a salesperson is going to get a media briefcase and then be able to see these listings and then come and try and sell you advertising about it. They're free. You can enter as many listings as you like for as many new products. I mean, over the years, I've had companies that have entered 25 or 30 products. And then when you enter the product information, you select a category that gets listed under. You can upload photos. The media will begin searching for these in around mid-February. And the nice thing about this service, if you do it through the Housewares or the Exhibitor Marketing Kit page, and your PR agency can do it because they don't need your Housewares Connect password. You simply enter the company name, for the exhibitor name in the box. The system searches for the exhibitor name. When it comes up, you click on it, and then that will take you to the entry field, and you put in the information, the product name, the product description, and the product photo. Another benefit of the service is my PR team, those people that are pitching to the consumer media right now, they're going to review these listings. And we're having a meeting tomorrow, and I'm doing the first poll of listings that have been entered so far. And we're going to look through these listings, and they're going to look for products that may be of interest to media that they're working with right now. We'll also be looking for products that we think the media would be interested in, and we may call you and ask for a sample of that product to have at the news center. So you get some extra benefits from this. The listings are up there all year long. So the media, even if they go, after the show, they will see your new product listings. Now, I just want to caution you, some of you may say, well, Deb, I entered my new product information in Housewares Connect 365 as a general product listing. Do I have to do it again for this service? Yes, you do. We don't have it connected yet where it could be one listing for either. So it may mean a duplication of services. I apologize about that, but it is a great benefit, and it is a great service to help the media know about your new products. And if you don't enter your new products here, we won't know about it, and we can't help you, get some media attention. Now, the second most frequently asked question of me after what new products are at the show is who is going to be at the show. Everybody wants to know what celebrities are going to be there, what chefs are going to be there, who's doing a product demonstration, who's having a special event. And the way you can let the media know about this information, if you're not just doing mailings to them, is by entering the special event product demonstration listing for the Housewares Connect 365 listing. On the HC 365 Exhibitor portal, it's called In-Booth Appearance. In the marketing kit, it's called Special Event Product Demonstration. but it is basically the same entry information and the same listing. So you can do it two ways. And once again, if you do it through the marketing kit, through this service, the PR agency can do it because you don't need the Housewares Connect password. You just enter the company name, it finds the company name and then the exhibitor, and then it opens up the form, and you can enter the information. And this goes into the 365 listing, and then anybody who goes to your booth, and if you have an in-booth appearance listed, will see this. This is not solely for media. So, be careful what you do put up there. But we really encourage you to list your celebrities. If you have somebody coming to the show, or if you're going to have a chef in your booth, or if you're going to have a special event for the media or a demonstration. Even if you're going to be doing demonstrations during certain times of the day, every day of the show, list those because people will be searching for that information. Again, this is free. The deadline, we say, to enter the information is March 13th, which is a couple of days before the show. I mean, you can enter it now. I wouldn't wait until after the show opens on March 15th, but if you can do it by March 13th, and then we will be searching for this information too.
We'd also encourage you to let your sales manager know. So if you're in the North Building, Katie Till is your manager. It's best to communicate with us as well, so that way it's just another notification in place, and we usually communicate that to Debbie anyways, but you must populate it in your 365 because that's where the media looks.
Okay. Now, during the show, we have a couple of services that we offer, the Show News Center and then a press release writing service. The News Center is the headquarters for the media that come to the show. This is where they'll come to get the exhibitor information, show information. They have to come here to pick up their badge. We do not pre-mail the badges, so the media has to come to the News Center to pick up their badge for the show. We will take your press kits and put them out for the media. It's a free service. On the page in the marketing kit, it tells you how many. We ask for 75 to 100. It gives you the address of the News Center for shipping the kits to us. We would like them before, a couple of days before the show opens, by that Thursday before the show opens, so that we have time to put them out. The kit should include a press release, a photo, any catalog sheets, contact information. And in the marketing kit, I have a tip sheet on how to put together a press kit that you can download. It's a PDF, and they'll give you, some tips on how to put together a kit if you've never done one before. We also ship the kits back to the news media after the show. One of the first things they do when they come to the News Center and hang up their coat and they get their bag and their badges, we give them boxes. We give them cardboard suitcase boxes, and they start packing up the kits. And then we ship them back to their offices after the show. And this is a way for them to have your information all year round. Because for the women's magazines, the consumer magazines, it's not a news magazine, but like Good Housekeeping and In Style and Women's Day and all of those, they work 3 to 4 months or 6 months even ahead. So the information that they collect at the show, they may not use until the summer or the fall. So this is their way to have it, and then, as I said, we ship this back to their office free of charge, and there's no charge to you either. And this is what the press room looks like, where we put the kits. We put them up alphabetically in plastic bins, and so it's very important that you put your company name on the cover of the press kit if you're doing a paper kit, or if you're doing a CD, put it on the front cover of the jacket, or if you want to do a thumb drive, make sure that there's a tag with your company name on it so we know whose kit it is. And if you have a graphic, if you want to put your product picture on the front, that helps too, because as with Housewares Connect 365, the listings that have visuals, that have photos or videos or product catalogs, they get searched or they get taken and looked at more often than kits that are just pretty blank.
That's absolutely right, Debbie. You're selling here to the media just like you're selling to buyers.
So make sure you send me your kits. If you have any questions, just let me know. Now, we ask for 75 to 100. Sometimes companies will send me a lot more than that. Any kits that we have left over, we cannot mail back, ship back to you after the show. We ask you to you can come to the News Center on Tuesday before the show ends. And if we have any kits left, we're more than happy to give them back to you to take. So, because I hate to waste paper and throw things out. So make sure you come and pick up your extra kits. So you say, Deb, I'm a very small company. I don't have an in-house PR person or a writer. I don't have a PR agency. And I want to do a press release because I want to have something in my 365 listing. I want to do a press kit. So a service we offer is called the Virtual Press Release Writer. And this is a paid program. It's not free, but you can write a press release in a few easy steps. You go online to the form and just answer some questions about your company and your booth number, your product, and then the data is merged into a system, and within 48 hours, you will receive a Word document with a professional press release about your company or your product. And you can use this release any way you like. It's yours to own. You can post it. You can kind of do it, print it on your letterhead. You can make a PDF file of it and post it in your 365 listing. You can put it on a CD. Make sure you include it in your press kit. Send it out to the trade publications. Do whatever you like with it. The cost is $75 per release, and this is done by a professional third-party writer that I've known for many years. And the companies that have done this in the last 2 years that we've offered it have been very happy with it. So I encourage you, to do this if you can't write a release. We do have a sample press release in the marketing kit as well that you can kind of look at as a template if you want to try writing your own.
Deb, I have a couple about the press kit.
Yes.
Can they be dimensional, such as a small box?
As you see, we have the bins. We put them in the bins. The thicker they are, the fewer that we can put out. We don't have a lot of counter space, so I wouldn't make them too large.
Any thought as to the most used media for press kits, paper versus thumb drive versus DVD?
I'll be honest with you, the thumb drives are usually the first to go, and sometimes I think people take them simply for the usage afterwards because it's a thumb drive and you can erase the contents and then use it afterwards. I'm sure they're looking at the information first. They will go. The thumb drives go. The paper kits will go too. People do pack them up. It's just what your preference is. I personally still prefer the paper. And my team likes it because they will go through the press kits and look at your products and look at your company right then and there. They don't have to put it into the computer and try and fire it up. And as I say, a lot of the media, they just kind of pack these up. They'll stand there, they'll flip through the press kits, and then they'll put them in their boxes. And unless they know your company, you can't really do that with a thumb drive.
Perfect. That's all I have.
Okay. I want to take a moment to talk about the news media at the show. For the media wears a blue badge, so they have the blue stripe on it, and we break the media down into 3 different classifications. There's news media, which is the print and the broadcast people, your traditional media, magazine editors and reporters, your TV and radio producers and reporters. Then we have internet media, which would be news websites and internet-based publications. It could be the website of a print publication, and they send their website editor, and that person we would call them an internet media. And then this year we added a blogger classification, and the blogger category is for your traditional, your mommy blogger, your foodie blogger, somebody that they've set up their blog, they've set up a website just for this. They are not. I know bloggers, it's become a big industry. It's a pretty good cottage industry out there now, and they're professional. But it's not it may be their business, but it's not like a news organization. So we wanted you, the exhibitor, to kind of have a better handle on who these people are that are coming into your booth. At IHA and at the show, we consider publicity to be free. That if somebody wearing a news media badge comes into your booth and they're going to write about your product or they're going to talk about your product and they're not going to charge you. if somebody wearing a blue badge does come into your booth and offers to sell you either a video, say, hey, I'll put a video on my website, but you have to pay a production cost or a sponsorship cost, that's not news media. Or if they say that, they'll write about you or they want you to sponsor their blog about your product, that's not media. And we do have some blogger criteria on our website in the media registration area. I encourage you to go there and look and see what we tell bloggers, how, if they're looking for a business relationship or to sponsor or advertising, if they want that from you, that's not news media. That would be a trade desk. So as I said, if somebody comes to you during the show and they're trying to sell you something and they're wearing a blue badge, please let me know, because I don't like that, and we will ban them from being news media in the future. And after the show, when you're looking at the media registration list and you see somebody's name and that jives up a bad memory, let me know after the show as well.
So Deb, just so I'm clear, all of these three categories will have a blue badge, but it will say news media or internet media or blogger in the blue space.
In the blue space.
So
correct.
That's how exhibitors will know.
Mm-hmm. Then PR agencies, some companies work with PR agencies, others don't. If you are interested in a PR agency, let me know. I have a list of companies that I have worked with over the years, and I'm happy to share that with you. And they run the gamut from very small entrepreneurs to medium-sized to some large companies. Then after the show, you will, about 6 weeks or 4 to 6 weeks after the show, you'll get an email saying that the buyer list is available and the media list is available. And so this will be a complete list of all the media who registered for the show, either before the show or during the show. And we encourage you to use this list year-round to pitch media. And once again, look and see who maybe didn't come to your booth, or or if there's media that you really, or trade publications you think would be interested in your product. Use that list. I would also encourage you to update your Housewares Connect 365 listing throughout the year, because whenever I get an editor calling me about wanting product information, that is where I send them. Tell them to search Housewares Connect 365. So please continue to update that. And then another service that IHA offers its members and exhibitors to get exposure with the media is our press events. And we do 3 a year. Last week we had our show preview event in New York. We had 60 exhibitors and had somewhere around 50 or so media. Mother Nature threw us some curveballs because there was some bad weather in New York, but I think it was very successful. We actually had a TV crew come over, and they did a nice segment on their evening news. And so that was the show preview to help exhibitors kickstart their public relations. Our next event will be June 3rd in New York. It's our Housewares for the holidays, and that is open to IHA members only. And that is your opportunity to meet with the gift guide editors and let them know about what products you will be coming out with for the fourth quarter of the holiday selling season. The email announcing that event and the sign-up will go to the PR contact at member companies in early April. So our press events do sell out pretty quickly. This one will have about 40. It will be limited to about 40 companies. So as soon as you see get that email or you see a notification in SmartBrief, that means the website is open and ready for registration. I would encourage you to sign up right away so you don't miss out on that opportunity.
And so that's a pay to play as well.
Yes, it is. You do have to pay. There is an entry fee for that. It's $950 for one company representative, and then goes up incrementally for 2 and 3 representatives. And that fee is, to cover the hotel costs. The hotel is not giving me the space for free, and we are a not-for-profit trade association. So we do have to pay for that somehow.
Debbie, I think those who have done these kind of events in for-profit environments before will find that they were spending between $3,000 and $5,000 for an event, and it wasn't even focused on their category. This is totally focused on housewares. These are great events. And one thing Debbie didn't mention, we also in June, at the end of June, will be doing one of these in London.
Yeah.
And if you have business in the UK and want to reach the UK media, you'll get some information about that event. That is extremely limited. I think we're because of the venue, we only have 12 companies involved in that. But that's also another opportunity, and as Debbie, I think, mentioned, we'll do another one in the fall that will be an opportunity for you, as well as, of course, the pre-show one in January. Each of them has their strengths, and each of them is an opportunity in and of itself, and we encourage you to think about those. Any further questions? I will share with you that all of this event has been recorded, and both the PowerPoint and the recording of the event will be available on our website shortly. If you took a little nap during the middle of the presentation, or if one of the people on your team you think would benefit from listening to this presentation, I would encourage you to send them there. There'll be a link to it on our homepage shortly at housewares.org. And as I mentioned earlier, both Debbie and I and Nancy also will be happy to answer any questions post the event. So any other questions?
When is the UK press event?
I believe the date is the 23rd of June, but I don't have it exact. It's the last.
23rd. I believe it's the 25th of June.
25th of June. And information will go out in the same time frame.
Somebody's questioning what the message center is and what it's used for.
Okay, going back to the message center, it's a part of Housewares Connect 365. It is your opportunity to send a message to buyers and news media through Housewares Connect 365. It gives you the opportunity to send a message to a defined population, certain retail classifications. You can send up to 3 messages before the show and 1 message after the show. It arrives at their mailbox in their briefcase on our website, not their mailbox at their office. When they have messages, we notify buyers or news media that they have messages through our regular communication with them and encourage them to go visit and read those messages. So it is a tool to send messages one way from exhibitors to buyers and news media. And it, again, it looks like a little envelope at the top of the page where you sign up for Housewares Connect 365.
And what is the deadline for the new product showcase?
New product showcase deadline is February 4th to be included to be included in the IHA.
February 7th is the deadline to be included in the IHA Innovation Award.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. But we will still collect submissions until later on in February, or until the showcases are full. After that, but in order to be a part, and that's the tremendous value of being a part of this. A part of the value is being considered for the IHA Innovation Award. So I encourage you to get it in by February 7th. Thank you, Debbie.
What is the deadline to mail her product?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Mail her product for the new product showcase.
There will be instructions given to each submission after you submit your product on how to deliver it and where to deliver it. I don't have that information here, but once you sign up, that information will be shared with you. If your concern is that you may not have product in time, Connie Shantos runs the new product showcases for us, and you can speak to her at chantos@housewares.org, and she'll be happy to answer the specific questions about that.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
I have a few housekeeping things. One, please be on the lookout from your sales manager. You should be receiving an email that will highlight some key deadline dates that are approaching. I want to call out the badge registration deadline date in order to receive your badges in the mail is coming up on February 2nd. If you have not registered for your badges yet, you really need to do this right away. You don't want to miss that deadline. The reason we want to mail them to you is so you have access to your show setup date. Don't rely on just coming to McCormick Place and being able to pick up your badge on site, because there are registration hours and they often do not jive with when you want to start. February 4th is for inclusion in the directory, which Perry covered during the webinar. Make sure that you get that 365 listing up to date so we pull the correct information. And just to note, the Freeman dates are coming up in early February to get your services ordered online. You must order those online this year or you will be subject to a 7 to 9% increase in fees. They are making a big push to get everyone to start using online service ordering. All this will be outlined in an email from your sales manager. We're trying to get you out 6 of the week weekly from now to the show. I read them because we really try to give you the important things we don't want you to miss.
So in a slightly different way, you get a 7 to 9% discount if you order online.
Correct.
So thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions, please direct them to us via phone or email, and some of those are up there on the screen. Thank you for your time.